Well, good morning, my stitchy friends. My name is Karen. This channel is the KLBugg, and mainly I talk about cross stitch. That's it. Sometimes a little life update, but mostly about cross stitch. So if that's what you're looking for, hopefully you found the right place to hang out for a while. I want to welcome back all of you that have been so faithful with all my videos, and I thank you so very, very much for that. And to anybody new that's dropping by, I am so glad you found this channel, and I hope you find enough that you like that you'll stick around for a while and enjoy some stitching with me. Thought today I would probably just do an update on what I've been doing over the past several weeks. Actually, it's been a while since I did a video. As most of you know, and I will put a clip of it in a little bit, I finished Stitcher's Retreat. She is framed and is hanging on the wall, so you'll get to see a little bit of that later in the video. I think most of you that are returning viewers already know the fact that I've just kind of been flitting around lately. Well, I did find a project that I am going to sink my teeth into. But for quite some time, I've been playing musical projects, is I guess the easiest way to put it, because I just couldn't get settled on one project alone. So, I think we all go through that at one time or another, and especially after you finish a project that you've been working on for 5 years. 5 years, and actually a little bit more than that. You end up grieving it, is basically what happens. I terribly miss, as much as I love seeing it on my wall, I terribly, terribly miss stitching on it. That was so much of my life for the past, well, I would say I really, really concentrated on it the past 2 to 3 years, where I basically didn't stitch on anything else. That's what held my attention. I really wanted it. I wanted it up on my wall. And for those of you that can't decide on, say, which full coverage design you want to do, if you want to do full coverage or which heaven and earth design, I think the whole key to completing one or two or many is to find the one that you absolutely love and don't want to be without. That you can, I mean, for that whole 5 years, I pictured this one up on my wall, and in all honesty, it didn't let me down. It is every bit of what I wanted it to be. So with that, let me put a clip in here. I was going to save it for later, but let's just put it in now and let you see how it's hanging on the wall and give you an up close and personal on the frame. So here we go. Okay, here she is up on the wall. Zoom in a little bit. There you go. Hanging in her place of honor. We can look at her every day. Okay, let me give you a little bit of close-up of the frame. So pardon my... There you go. It's actually a double frame. Pardon my shakiness. And then give you one more look. Okay, there she is, all finished, all hung to be enjoyed. So there you have it. What can I say? My pride and joy. Hopefully, it will get passed down through the generations to come. And if my daughter doesn't want it, it will already have another home when I'm no longer around to stitch anymore. So um, I hope you enjoyed seeing her. And, like I said, she's my pride and joy. It really truly is the biggest thing I have ever stitched in my, oh my goodness, 50 years. 50 years of stitching. What can I say? It's been a long. So what I thought I'd do today is show you a little bit of my musical projects, I'm going to call them. Because I did flit around a lot. A lot. Um, well, let's do what have I been doing? Flitting around a lot with my projects. Um, I did, however, spend a week at Salty Yarns with some very, very good friends. It was their spring retreat, and it was also Spring Fest in Ocean City, Maryland, and it was a fun, relaxing time. Uh, we sat and stitched most days. Um, and they handled it exceptionally well for still having to be cautious because of COVID. There was hand sanitizer at all the entrances that you applied to your hands before you went in. Everybody wore masks. They really only had about half the number of people there this year than what they normally do, but that was so that they could effectively provide social distancing. They had, I believe it was 3 stitching rooms set up where you could congregate with fellow stitchers and still maintain um, distance. Uh, but it was very well done, and it certainly was a lot of fun. We always look forward. Uh, my friend Barb and I always look forward to this time of year when we get to go to Salty Yarns. Gay also joined us, as well as uh, Carla. The 4 of us roomed together, and what can you say? It was good time was had by all. Um, that's about the only place I went. We have been pretty much homebodies, and you know what? That's just fine with me. Absolutely, just fine with me. Believe it or not, and a lot of you probably won't believe this, but I am an introvert, and I really do enjoy staying at home. So really, all of this lockdown and everything was not a hardship for us because it is what we normally do. We stay home. I stitch. My husband reads. We cross paths once in a while, but we each kind of do our own thing, and it's happily ever after. What can I say? So, you're here for some stitching. So, let's see what I have been stitching, jumping around with, you name it. So, let's go to the first one I have here. See if I can back up enough to get you to see this. Um, Long Dog Samplers, Legal High. Okay, so I'm all but down to the bottom corner. Um, some of you asked, "Oh, you started on the." Well, if I open it, do I have it? Yeah. I started on the right hand side. Yeah, it's backwards for you. It's okay. Or it's backwards for me and correct for you. But I started on the right hand side um, for a reason. Well, actually, two reasons. I started experimenting with the sewing method. So the method that I'm using is Ruth Sparrow's method. If you just Google Ruth Sparrow, you will find it, and she has instructions there how to do it. But basically, what you're doing across the row is a continental tent stitch, and then you cross them in your regular manner coming back. So far, I mean, I think it's doing pretty good. Um, and I'm kind of enjoying that, and it is going a little bit faster. And while I have this piece out, I want to show you a spot. Let me see if I can find it again. It's a little, yeah, right down here it is. I had to frog on this piece, and I saw a video, and honestly, I can't remember who posted it. It was in one of the groups on how to repair if you cut your fabric. And I didn't do the standard that a lot of people say to use of, taking a little piece of fabric, holding it behind, and stitching through both layers. I didn't do that. I didn't do that at all. What this was is I took this is 22 count Hardanger fabric. So I took the two strands that are together, I thread them in my needle, and I rewove that stitch that I accidentally cut. And in all honesty, let me get you up here at the camp. Well, there. You can't tell which thread it was that was cut, or at least I don't think you can. It's hard for me to see. I have to look at the back of my work every time to find it. So what I will do um, within the next few days is set up so that I can do some close-ups of stitching, and I will show you how I did that. Um, Actually, it was really easy, and I think it worked like a charm. You can, I know where it is, so I can tell by looking at the back. So, legal high long dog samplers on 22 count Hardanger fabric using Sulky. Oh, I keep going the wrong way, I forget. And it's, here we go, 119. And it's the 30 weight that I'm using on the 22 count. And I think it's just, the coverage for me is just fine. I don't have a problem with it. Um, I know some people get upset if they see white showing through, but personally, I kind of do like to see the X's every now and again. So 30 weight on 22 count is my go-to for that. Okay, the next thing I was working on, and this one I work on it. I like my combination, but I'm still unsure. And this is Pandemic. Okay, it's B5200 on Burgundy Lugano. The reason I'm still unsure is I'm finding stitching on this burgundy is almost as difficult as stitching on black. I'm having a hard time seeing the holes, as do I have that same problem when I stitch on black fabric. Um, yeah, it's just so I don't work on this too often, but yet I love the white and burgundy. Oh, I'll get this camera right yet. I love the combination. So I'm not ready to give up on it yet. Um, I struggle with it, but I will probably keep it for daytime stitching because it's hard to see. Um, even with even with cheater glasses on top of my glasses or using my Dazor. Um, I have the Dazor. I like the Dazor. However, there are days I don't like it because I don't like something between me and my stitching. Even though it's magnifying it, when I pull my fabric up, I guess it's the way I have it positioned or need to position it. My hand is always bumping it, and then that gets annoying, and then I get befuddled. It's such an easy thing to befuddle me these days. Um, so that's pandemic. So already there's two long dogs, but that's still not the one that I'm going to sink my teeth into. Now, just to say, one more long dog. Yeah, I was on a roll. I After all the confetti in Stitcher's Retreat, I mean, not that the confetti was horrible. It's not an Amy Stewart. It isn't horrible like the Josephine Walls, the Amy Stewarts. I mean, those are the two off the top of my head that I can think of that are just confetti horrendous. Um, but I went on a long dog kick. So something that has been calling me for a very long time, ever since it came out, I finally started. So I finally started. Oh, here we go. Oh, wrong way. Death by cross stitch. So I'm not very far. Oh gosh, I'm not very far, but I, pick it up. And part of the reason, let's go there. A lot of the reason I started these is because I needed a break from all the heavy confetti for just a little bit. And I joined this really fun Facebook group. I'm having a blast. It's a game. It's called Survival of the Stitchiest. So, gals, if any of you are watching this, which I hope you do, um, I'm having a blast. It's just so much fun. Um, the people on my settlement are some really lovely, lovely people. Um, I enjoy each and every one of them. Uh, and by using these long dogs, I can meet a lot of, or I can get a lot of stitches done. I think the highest I had one day was, oh, let me think, was around 1600, which for me, that's great. I mean, I'm the old lady of the bunch. Most of the people, with the exception of a few, are young enough to be my daughter, but they really are a great group. And like I said, am really having so much fun. And by doing these one color ones, I can get a lot of stitches done. And I never did a stitching game like this before, and it's a riot. Uh, you go on a hunt, which gives you certain supplies. You stitch for supplies. You stitch for weapons. You stitch for pets. You stitch to feed the pets. Um, Resources get deducted every day according to the number of people in your settlement. And certain things, certain resources are only good for a certain amount of time, so you have to keep stitching them. So, in all honesty, it gives me a lot of motivation to keep stitching. And it's helping me get a lot of stitching done on these long dogs. So, um, the last one, and the one I'm going to sink my teeth into, is another Heaven and Earth design. And let me see if I can find the picture. No, no, no. Um, no, I might have. Now, where did I put the picture? It's on here. Honest, I'm gonna. That's my welcome. That's a laptop. Okay. Let me flip around. I'll be back. Okay, here's. Not that one. Must be in here. Here we go. I think this is it. No, that's not it. Oh, good Lord, all Friday. I can't find it. Anyway, it's Heaven and Earth design. Spread your wings. So this is all the further I got on it. Um, I know I have a picture somewhere. Okay, let me do this. Let me get it for you. Photos. Here we go. There we go. This is what it will look like when it's finished. There we go. And this is, oops, this is all I have done. Started in the, so I'm up here in this top corner, which is a whole lot of, can you guess? Black. I don't know why I seem to always go for these darker pictures that are a lot of black. I don't know. What can I say? So that's what this will look like. I'm stitching it on 22, no, 20 count easy grid fabric. And just a little side note rabbit hole here. I have had to switch some of my switch all my projects to either 20 or 22 count. I think that's also part of my problem with my burgundy and white long dog is that I am having trouble seeing 25 count. Hopefully that's going to be rectified. Uh, I have an appointment on Monday with an ophthalmologist. The optometrist I go to has informed me that I now have what they call secondary cataracts. Several years ago, my cataracts had gotten bad enough that they could be removed. Um, so when they do that, there's a little sac in your eye that the lens of your eye is in, and they break up that lens because that's what becomes cloudy and is the cataract. So it progressively over time, your vision just gets worse and worse because it gets cloudier and cloudier. So they take the lens of your eye out and they implant a new lens into that sac, stitch it shut. Teeny tiny stitches. I loved watching eye surgery when I was able to do that as a nurse. It wasn't often, but I just was so fascinated by it because the instruments are so teeny, teeny, tiny, and it was I was just fascinated. I loved it. So now what happened is the implants I have in both eyes, they tend to, of course, they float around a little bit in that sac, and they rub the sac, causing a little bit of, I don't know exactly what you would call it, scarring, or probably because it's affecting my vision. Um, I can be stitching and all of a sudden everything will go blurry. So I have to, stop for a few minutes, look up, look away, uh, and then I can go back. It clears up and then I can go back. So what I'm going to the ophthalmologist for is for the consult to, I think they just zap it with a laser, is what I think they do. Um, my husband had it done, and of course, he doesn't say too much about what they did or how they did it because he really doesn't understand that stuff. And he says, just fix me and I'm a happy camper. Um, so I'm scheduled Monday to go meet with them and in order to have that done. And hopefully that's going to clear up my inability to stitch on the smaller projects. But I made the decision that even if it does, I'm still going to move up to 99% of the time 20 count. It's a lot easier on my eyes. My eyes are not getting any younger. Um, and I want to be able to see comfortably and not have to strain to do my stitching because you know what, guys? It's a hobby. It is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be something that we really want to do, and we shouldn't have to struggle to do it. If you have to struggle, then to me, it's not worth the time. Life's too short, and it's getting shorter because I'm not getting any younger. Um, so I want to do things that I enjoy and things that I don't have to strain to do. So, in light of that, this Spread Your Wings comes in a full size as well as a mini. So, I have made the decision that from now on, with the exception of these long dogs, because, pardon me, they don't really take that long to stitch. Um, well, they take time, but they're not 5-year projects for me. Actually, legal high, I only started, let me see, we're now the end of May. I think I started it in April. So it hasn't been that long, and I'm really pretty far already. Uh, Death by Cross Stitch, I probably started sooner than that, but that one I don't work on as much because, again, my not so favorite color, black. Why did I pick black? I don't know. I don't know. Part of me wanted to do it in colors, but I can never decide what colors need to be where. Um, it's just not, I find it just easier. Just pick a color and stitch the whole thing in that. So, here's something else. Given the fact that life's too short, and I decided to do just minis, I have Window with a View, the regular size, started on 22 count. I would, at this point in my life, prefer to do the mini and not the full size one. So, what I would like to do is, let me get it right. Here we go. I jumped around a little bit because I wanted to make sure my fabric was big enough. So here it is. Oh, golly. Okay, that's what's done at the top. Hanging threads. And I did jump down to the bottom. Okay, this is on 22 count hard hanger fabric. I'm using the threads from my stash. But what I would like to do is rehome this rather than chopping it up and getting rid of it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who would just adore finishing it. So I really would like to rehome it to someone that's interested. It would be just what you see right here. Just the stitching, just the stitched piece. I can't rehome the chart because I have it as PDF, and I have used the threads from my stash, so there's no threads to go with it. But if someone would like this, pardon me, or several of you would like this, if in the comments you use the word window, and if then the next time I do a video, we'll use the random comment picker, whatever you call it. I've never used it, so I will practice beforehand so that we can not fumble around while I'm here on a video. I'll use the random comment picker, and we will pick someone who will get this piece. I would prefer it to be someone who is truly interested in finishing it, as opposed to someone who says, yeah, I want it so I can, and I'll cut that part off and just use the fabric. No, I want it to be someone who would like to finish it. Use the word window in your comment. Tell me why you would like to finish it. And it will get rehomed to one of you. Next time I do a video, I will do the comment picker. Oh, the other thing is you need to be a subscriber, and I can check that. You need to be over 18. All the usual rules that everybody else uses apply. Don't say the word giveaway. I don't remember all the things everybody else uses, but over 18, please be a subscriber. I will check that. And window, and why you would like to stitch window with a view. So I think that's everything I have today. I didn't prepare a list. This is just an off-the-cuff video, mainly because I hadn't done one for a while. So probably since I will do a video at some point in time very soon on how I repaired my fabric, and something I would not have thought of to repair cross stitch. It's similar to what I would do to repair hard hanger. Oh, I do have something else, and I forget who it was that asked me this. It is somebody that is doing one of their first Heaven and Earth designs, and they're stitching on the diagonal. Okay. And she asked about where do I go next? After I do this, whoops, this little corner here of 55 stitches, where do you go next? What I do is, since it's just that little corner, any threads that are used in this next diagonal, I'll work through the back of the stitches and come up at the top of the next diagonal. Work down the diagonal. When I get to this edge, I will end off. If it's a thread that I can't park over in this next diagonal. So this is all black, so it's a little hard to show. Let me use, and this one I kind of moved away from the diagonal. But as I work down, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to try this because my Stitcher's Retreat had lines. Now, for those that, oh, why is my nose itch? For those that asked about that, about the lines, when I washed it and pressed it, the lines did not come out. Even though I pulled as hard as I could to try and get those lines out, the lines did not come out. Okay. However, when I sent it to Total Framing, and Sherry Miller framed it. And when I picked it up, she was able to pull all those lines out. So you do not see any lines in Stitcher's Retreat, which, you know what, if they would have still been there, it would not have bothered me in the least, because they were not really bold lines. They were very, very faint. You had to look for them to see them. But as we all know, we're all our own worst enemy. And we find every flaw that there is to be found, because that's just who we are as stitchers. Okay? So what I'm going to try this time is, and now I haven't been able to do it here because this is all black. My favorite color to stitch. Not. I'm getting about tired of black. As it gets into more colors, what I'm going to do is, if a color ends up here, I'm going to bring it over into this next column. And hopefully by doing that, it will help to avoid some lines. But what I do at the bottom, if I haven't been able to park it in the next column, I end the thread either with a pin stitch or working under stitches in the back. If I get here to the bottom and that color isn't used in the next column, same thing, pin stitch or weave it through the back and start up here at the top again and work your way down. Start at the top again. Now, whether you do page by page, whether you do set a limit, because with Pattern Keeper, I turn my page lines off. So I'm not exactly sure where a page will end, other than I know it's 80 stitches in height. But some people find that point that or come to that point that they want to stop, and they work all the way across that far down. Then they move down to underneath that, however far they want to go, and work all the way across. And that's fine. You can do that, or you can just keep doing your diagonals all the way from top to side, and then eventually you'll get corner to corner, and then your diagonals will get shorter the rest of the way. It's up to you how you do it. There are no stitching police, my friends. They are not out there. Do what makes you comfortable. Do what keeps you happy. This is a hobby. It is not a job. It's what we do for fun, what we do to relax. Do you. You do you. And that's always been my advice to any new stitcher. Diagonal stitching isn't for everybody. And truth be told, sometimes I stick religiously to diagonal stitching. Sometimes I do cross country. Sometimes I do just a little section at a time. A lot of it is, okay, what am I in the mood for today? Because you know what? There's no police out there. None. Do what makes you happy. It is your project. You do not have to please anybody else. You have to do what you are happy with. And if you're happy with, I don't know, if you're happy with a back that looks like string art, yeah, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are one that is a perfectionist and has to have it precisely so and everything neat and tidy, good for you. Good for you. Do what makes you happy. Let's see. I don't think I showed the back on this one. No. Okay. Here's the back. It's a little messy, but you know what? It's okay. It's all right. Who's going to see it? Here. Look down here. I'm holding it the wrong direction, but it's okay. You get the point. You know, it's all right. Whatever you do, it's okay. It's yours. Stay happy. Have fun. That's what this is all about. It's fun. Keeps you interested. Yeah, so do you. So, with that, my friends, now I can't think of anything else. So, I am planning. Let me look at my calendar. Let's see. Today is the 21st. Okay. Planning on another video next Friday. Might not have a lot of progress to show. Maybe we'll do a stitch with me. Haven't done one of those in a while. So, yeah. Depending on how my week goes and how much stitching I have to do for this game that I'm playing, which is totally fun. We'll try and get another video up. I'll try to do them weekly. I know I haven't been the greatest about that. There was, like I said, I couldn't settle on anything, so I really didn't have a lot to talk about. If I don't have a lot to talk about, but we're working on that. So with that, my friends, I will bid you farewell. If you like this channel and what we had here today, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe so that you can be considered for Window with a View. And don't forget, click on that little bell so that you do know when I do another video or go live. So with that, my friends, until next time, have a great, great, great stitchy day. Have a great stitchy week, and I will see you soon. Thanks for stopping by, and till next time, bye.